for business, and we are at page 106.
Six.
Okay, and
Okay.
our last headword was introduction, newer type of lesson.
Introduction.
Okay, so let's
Yes.
start with revision. Ready?
Okay.
Here we go. Why is it common for sales reps and retail workers to receive commission in addition to their basic wage or salary? Why is it common for sales reps and retail workers to receive commission in addition to their basic wage or salary? It's common
It's
for
common
sales
for
reps
sales
and
reps
retail
and the
workers
retail
to
workers
receive a
to
commission
receive a
in
commission
addition
in
to their
addition
basic
to their
wage
basic
or
wage
salary
or salary
because earning
because
commission
earning a
is
commission
an incentive
is an incentive
for them to
for
perform
them to
well
perform
by
well
selling
by
more.
selling more.
Very good. Do you know anyone who's had a job application turned down as the result of a poor reference from a former employer? Do you know anyone who's had a job application turned down as a result of a poor preference from a former employer? Yes or no?
No, I
I
don't
don't know
know
anyone who's
anyone
had a
who's
job
had a
application
job
turned
application
down as the
turned down
result
as a
of a
result
poor
of
reference
a poor
from a
reference
former
from a
employer.
former employer.
Ragged, when considering the profit margin on a product, why is it gross margin larger than the net margin? When considering the profit margin of a product, why is the gross margin larger than the net margin? When
When
considering the profit
considering the
margin
proper,
on a product,
oh sorry,
when considering
when considering
the profit
the
margin
profit of
on a
margin
product,
on the
the
product,
gross margin
the gross
is
margin
larger
is
than the net
larger than
margin
the net margin
because the gross
because
margin
the gross
is
margin
the difference
is
between
the
the
difference
selling
between
price
the selling
and the
price
direct
and
cost,
the direct cost,
whereas the net
whereas
margin
the net
is the
margin is
difference
the
between
difference
the
between
selling price
the selling
and the
price
total
and the
cost.
total costs.
Very good. When someone says they want to bring a decision forward, do they want the decision to be made earlier or later than originally planned? When someone says they want to bring a decision forward, do they want the decision to be made earlier or later than originally planned? When someone
When
says
someone
they
says
want to
they
bring
want
a
to bring
decision
a
forward,
decision
they
forward,
want the
they
decision
want the
to be
decision
made
to be
earlier
made
than
earlier
originally
than
planned.
originally planned.
Right? And what's the opposite of to bring forward? And what's the opposite of to bring forward? The
The
opposite of to
opposite
bring
of
forward.
bring forward,
Gomer, the opposite of
the opposite
bring
of
forward
bring
is
forward
put back
is
or
put
push
back
back.
or push back.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. The board meeting
The
has
board
pushed
meeting
back
has pushed
owing
back
to the chairman's
owing
illness.
to the determined chairman's
Chairman's
illness.
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 Very good. How can an inventor ensure that nobody steals their idea? How can an inventor ensure that nobody steals their idea? An
An
inventor can
inventor
ensure that
can
nobody
ensure that
steals their
nobody steals
idea
their
by
idea
obtaining a
by
patent
obtaining a
on their
patent
invention.
on their invention.
Very good. And how can we prevent our written or artistic work from being stolen? And how can we prevent our written or artistic work from being stolen? We can
We
prevent
can prevent
our written
our
or
written
artistic
or
work
artistic
from
work
being stolen
from being
by
stolen
registering
by
the
registering
copyright.
the copyright
Ragged, how can we stop others using our trademark? How can we
trade.
stop others using our trademark? We can stop
We can stop
others by
others
uh,
by
we can stop
we
others
can stop others
using our trademark
using our
by
trademark
registering
by
the trademark.
registering a trademark.
Very good. What does someone mean when they say they want to escape the rat race? What does someone mean when they say they want to escape the rat race? When someone
When
says
someone
they
says
want to
they
escape
want to
the rat
escape
race,
the rat
they
race,
mean
they
they want
mean
to stop
they want to
working
stop
in a
working
highly
in a
competitive
highly
and
competitive
stressful
and
environment.
stressful environment.
Give me an example. Give me an example, please. It's time I
Each
got out
time
of
I
the rat
got out
race.
of the rat
I can't
race,
work
I
these
can't
long
work
hours anymore. I can't work
can't work
these long hours
long hours
anymore.
anymore.
One more. It's time I
It's
got
time
out
I
of
get
the rat
out
race.
the rat
I
race.
can't work
I can't work
these long
these
hours
long hours
anymore.
anymore.
Very good. Which of the following two businesses is more likely to be referred
Yes.
to as a startup? A new bookshop or a new software company? Which of the following two businesses is more likely to be referred to as a startup? A new bookshop or a
A
new
new
software company? A new
a
software
new
company.
software
One more.
a new software company
Is more likely
is more
to be
likely
referred
to
to
be referred
as a
to
startup.
as a startup.
Why? Why?
Why?
Because
Because
it's more likely
it's more
that the
likely
business
that
model
the business
is
model
scalable
is
and
scalable
that the
and
entrepreneur
that the
has a
entrepreneur
plan to
has
grow
a
the
plan to
business rapidly.
grow the business rapidly.
Very good. Okay, what are the four stages of a production's life
Fourth
cycle?
stage.
What are the four stages of a product's life cycle? The four
The four
stages of the
stages
product's
of
life cycle
product life
are
cycle
introduction,
are introduction,
growth,
growth,
maturity, and
maturity,
decline.
and
Very
decline.
good. Why do high-tech products normally have fairly short life cycles?
Very
Why
short
do
life.
high-tech products normally have fairly short life cycles? High-tech products
High-tech
normally
products
have
normally
fairly
have
short life
very
cycles
short life
because
cycles
technology
because
develops
technology
quickly
develops
and
quickly
products
and the
become
products
obsolete.
become obsolete.
Very good. What do you think can help a product to have a long life cycle? What do you think can help a product to have a long life cycle? I think
I
being
think
low tech,
being low tech,
being a brand
being
that
brand
consumers
that the
trust,
consumers trust,
etc., can
etc.,
have a product
can have a
to
product
have a
to
long life
have
cycle.
a long life cycle.
Very good. Okay, and that's the end of our revision. Very good. Very
Okay.
fast. Let's have Newark. Okay, repeat. Report to.
Report to.
Very good. Okay, listen. When we say that we report to a particular person at work, we mean that it is the person who gives us tasks to do and who checks our works afterwards. For most employees, this person is the line manager.
Line manager.
Okay, let's practice. Choose. Okay, so in this organogram, who does the product manager report to? Okay, in this organogram, who does the product manager report to? Okay, the product manager. In this
In
organogram,
this
the
organigram,
product manager
the product manager
reports to the head
reports
of
to the head
operation.
of operations.
Alternative, in that
Alternative,
organ
in that
organogram,
orga,
the
organogram,
product manager
the product
reports
manager
to the head
reports to
of
the head
operations.
of operations.
And who does the head of R&D reports to? And who does the head of the R&D report to? The head
The
of
head of
R&D reports
R&D
to the general
reports to
manager.
the general manager.
Very good. Next, repeat. Tangible.
Tangible,
One more. Tangible.
tangible,
Intangible.
intangible.
Very good. Okay, listen. A tangible asset is an asset that is actually a physical thing, such as building or a vehicle. An intangible asset is an asset that isn't physical thing. For example, a patent, copyright, or even just knowledge.
Just
Let's
knowledge.
practice. In the machinery, is the machinery in a factory a tangible asset or an intangible asset? Is the machinery in a factory a tangible asset or an intangible asset? The machinery
The
in a
machinery
factory
in a
is a
factory is
tangible
a
asset.
tangible asset.
Very good. So what do we mean by an intangible assets? So what do we
Asset.
mean by an intangible assets? By an
By an
intangible assets,
intangible
we
asset,
mean
we
an
mean
asset that
an asset
isn't an
that
actual
isn't
physical
an
thing.
actual physical
For
thing.
example, a
For
patent,
example, a
copyright,
patent,
or even
copyright,
just
or
knowledge.
even just knowledge.
Very good. Okay, next. To level the playing field.
To level the playing field.
Very good.
Hmm.
Okay, listen. If you level the playing field, you change an environment or situation that everybody involved has a similar chance of success. It's a similar chance of success. For example, if your government provided free language lessons for foreign people living in your country, this would help to level the playing field for those people when they applied for jobs. Let's practice. How do you think the government could level the playing field for children growing up in your country? How do you think the government could level the playing field for children growing up in your country? I think the government
I think the
could level
government
the
could
playing
level
field
the playing
for
field
children
for children
growing up in my country
growing up in my
by
country
investing
by
more in
investing
them.
more in them.
Very good. Next, repeat central bank,
Central bank,
base rate,
base rate,
benchmark.
benchmark.
Very good. Okay, listen, central bank is a noun. It means a national bank that controls a nation's policies on money and interest rates. Base rate is a noun. It means the rate of interest that banks use to calculate how much interest to charge on the money they lend to each other instead to their customers. Benchmark is a noun. It means an amount, level, standard, etc. that you can use for judging how good or bad other things are. In almost all countries, the central bank sets an interest rate that is used for lending between banks. For example, in the UK, this interest rate is set by the Bank of England and is referred to as the official bank rate or the base rate. Other banks and organizations that lend money use the base rate as a benchmark for deciding their own interest rates for lending. Let's practice. In your country, what do you call the interest rate that is set by the central bank? In your country, what do you call the interest rate that is set by the central bank? In my country,
In my
we
country,
call
we
the
call
interest rate
the interest
that is
rate
set
that is
by the
set
central bank
by the central bank.
the base rate.
It was base rate. Is
Very good.
base
The,
rate.
the
Okay.
base rate.
The base rate.
Very good. What effect would it have on consumer spending in the UK if the Bank of England dramatically raised the base rate? What effect would it have on consumer spending in the UK if the Bank of England dramatically raised the base rate? If the Bank of
If the
England
Bank of England
dramatically raised the
dramatically
base
raised
rate,
the base rate,
consumer spending
consumers
would
spending
plummet.
would
Why?
plummet
Why?
because the prices are sorry
Well, let's say
it's
because interest
because
rates
interest
would
rate
rise across the
would
board,
rise across the
and
board,
this would cause
and this would cause
consumers to borrow
consumers
less
to borrow
and
less,
save more.
and save more.
Very good. They will spend less. Okay, next. Repeat.
Mm.
Parent company,
Parent company,
subsidiary,
subsidiary,
inject.
inject,
Very good. Okay, listen. A parent company is a company that owns or has control over one or more other businesses. The business that a parent owns or control are called subsidiaries.
subsidiary.
Inject. The word inject is a verb. In business, it means to provide more money for something. For example, a parent company can inject money into a subsidiary to prevent it from going bust or going bankrupt. Let's practice. What do we mean by the term parent company? What do we mean by the term parent company? By the term
By the
parent
term
company,
parent
we
company,
mean a
we mean
company that
a company
owns
that
or has
owns
control
or has
over
control
one or
over
more
one
other
or more
businesses.
other businesses.
Can a parent company inject money into a subsidiary to prevent it from going bust? Can a parent company inject money into a subsidiary to prevent it from going bust? Yes, a
Yes,
parent
a
company
parent
can
company
inject
can
money
inject
into a
money
subsidiary
into a
to prevent
subsidiary
it
to
from
prevent
going
it
bust.
from going bust.
Very good. Next, repeat. Candidate.
Candidate,
Short list. Sh-
short list,
short list. Very good. Okay,
short
listen.
list.
Short list is a noun. It means a list of people who have been judged and most suitable for a job, made from a longer list or people originally considered, and from which one person will be chosen for the post. For example, if I were shortlisted or put on a short list for a vacancy, I'd be pleased. The difference between a job applicant and a candidate is that an applicant is anyone who submits an application for a particular job, whereas a candidate is an applicant that the company has decided is worth interviewing. Let's practice. When a company is recruiting new staff, what's the difference between an applicant and a candidate? When a company is recruiting new staff, what's the difference between an applicant and a candidate? When a company
When a
is
company
recruiting new
is
staff,
recruiting new
the
staff,
difference between
the difference
an
between
applicant
an
and a
applicant and
candidate
a
is
candidate
that an
is that
applicant
an
is
applicant
anyone who
is anyone
submits
who
an
submits
application
an
for a
application
particular
for
job,
a particular job,
whereas a candidate
whereas a
is
candidate
an applicant
is an
that the
applicant
company
that
has
the company
decided
has
is worth
decided is
interviewing.
worth to
Is
is
worth
worth
interviewing.
interviewing.
Very good. If you were shortlisted for a vacancy, would you be pleased or
So,
disappointed? If you
mm,
were shortlisted for a vacancy, would you be pleased or disappointed? If I were
If I
shortlisted
were
for
shortlisted
a vacancy,
for a
I'd
vacancy,
be pleased.
I'd be pleased.
Very good. Okay, next repeat. AGM,
AGM,
Annual General Meeting.
annual general meeting. Okay.
EGM,
EGM.
EGM,
Okay. EGM.
Extraordinary General Meeting.
Okay. Extraordinary general meeting.
Approve.
Approve.
Very good. Okay, listen. Approve is a verb. It means approve to give official agreement or permission to something. Although it depends on the country, most companies are obliged by law to hold an annual general meeting or AGM. The board of directors must attend an AGM and shareholders have the right to attend as well. Okay, an AGM, various things happen. At an AGM, various things happen. Auditors are appointed, accounts are approved, and it's normal for dividends to be declared. If there is an important matter that needs resolving before the next AGM or before the next year meeting is scheduled to take place, directors can organize a meeting called an extraordinary general meeting or EGM. Okay, let's practice. What do the letters AGM stands for? What do the letters AGM stand for? The
The
letters
letters
AGM stand
AGM
for
stand for
Annual
annual
General Meeting.
general meeting.
Are shareholders in the company obliged to attend AGMs?
Oblige.
Are shareholders in company obliged to attend AGMs? No.
No,
Shareholders in a
shareholders
company
in a
aren't
company
obliged
aren't
to
obliged
attend
to
AGMs,
attend EGM,
although
but
they have the
although
right to
they
do
have
so.
the right to do so.
Reggie, tell me a few things you'd expect to happen during an AGM. Tell me a few things you'd expect to happen during an AGM. During an
During
AGM,
an
I'd
AGM,
expect
I'd
auditors
expect
to be appointed,
articles to be appointed,
accounts to be approved,
account
to
account
be
to be
approved,
approved,
dividends to be declared,
dividends to be declared,
etc.
etc. Okay.
Regard, what do the letters EGM stands for? What do the letters EGM stands for? The
The
letters
letters
EGM stand
EGM
for
stand for
Extraordinary General
Extraordinary
Meeting.
General Meeting.
When might a board of directors organize an EGM? When might a board of
When
directors organize an EGM? A board of
a
directors
board
might
of directors
organize
might
an
organize
EGM
an
when
EGM
there's an
when
important
there is
matter
an important
that
matter
needs resolving
that needs solving
before the next
before the
AGM
next
is
HM
scheduled to take
is
place.
scheduled to take place.
Very good. Okay, next repeat. Notice.
Notice.
Petty cash.
Petty cash.
Petty
Okay.
cash. Very good.
Petty
Okay, listen. Notice is a noun. It means an advance notification, usually written, of the intention to withdraw from an arrangement of a contract. Like notice is like to resign. For example, as a boss, I'd feel worried if my best employee handed in their notice because it's difficult to find replacement for their position. Petty cash is a noun. It means a small fund of cash that a firm keeps for the payment of incidental expenses. For example, we call the fund of cash that offices put aside to pay for small expenses at short notice a petty cash. Okay, let's practice. As a boss, how would you feel if your best employee handed in their notice? As a boss, how would you feel if your best employee
Ah,
handed in their notice? As a boss,
as a
I'd
boss,
feel
I'd feel disappointed
if my best
if my
employee
best
handed
employee
in their
handed
notice.
in their notice
Why? Why? Because it's difficult
because it's
to find a
difficult to
replacement
find a
for their
replacement
position.
for their position.
Very good. Next, repeat middleman.
Middleman.
Cut out the middleman.
Cut out the middleman.
Omit.
Omit.
Very good. Okay, listen. Cutting out the middleman, when we say cutting out the middleman means dealing directly with a seller,
Direct.
supplier, or manufacturer, and omitting the middleman such as an agent. For example, if we phone a hotel and book a holiday directly with the hotel rather than use a travel agency, then we're cutting out the middleman, which is the travel agency. Okay.
Hmm.
In a distribution channel from a manufacturer to consumer, The middlemen are normally the wholesalers and retailers. In certain situations, cutting out the middleman can save time and also money, as the middleman often earns a commission or a fee or introduces a markup. Let's practice. Give me an example of the expression to cut out the middleman. Give me an example of the expression to cut out the middleman, please. By organizing
By
our
organizing
holiday
our
ourselves,
holiday
we cut
ourselves,
out the
we cut
middleman
out the
and
middleman
save hundreds of pounds. And
it,
save
and save
hundreds of pounds.
hundreds of pounds.
Right. If we buy a product directly from a manufacturer, who are the middlemen we're cutting out? If we buy a product directly from a manufacturer, who are the middlemen we're cutting out? If we buy a
If we
product
buy a product
directly from a
directly from
manufacturer,
a
the
manufacturer,
middlemen we're
the
cutting
middleman
out
we are cutting
are the
out
wholesaler,
the
the
wholesaler,
retailer,
the retailer,
etc.
etc.
Very good. Okay, so now let's move on to reading.
Okay.
Okay, so our reading at page 47. Last headword
47.
was direct marketing. Okay, please start
Direct
at
marketing.
cash flow, seasonal,
Cash, okay.
address, overhead. Okay.
Okay. Cash flow, seasonal, address, overhead, supplier, trade credit. Is it possible for a business to be profitable but still have serious cash flow issues? Yes, it's possible for a business to be profitable but still have serious cash flow issues. Give me some examples of businesses that might experience such problems. Some examples of businesses that might experience such problems
Are
are a manufacturing company that has to pay for raw materials long before it sees any revenue from sales, a seaside hotel whose revenue is highly seasonal, a consultancy firm whose clients fail to pay promptly, etc. How can a business address cash flow issues? A business can address cash flow issues by obtaining an overdraft or a loan to pay wages and overheads, by using savings, by asking suppliers for trade credit, etc. Estimate, quote, quotation, ballpark. When we want to know exactly how much a service will cost, should we ask for an estimate or a quote? When we want to know exactly how much a service will cost, we should ask for a quote. Why? Because an estimate is a eh,
ballpark
ballpark
figure.
figure. So it might be changed later.
Very good.
Give me an example of the word ballpark, please. I can only give you a ballpark idea now of how
How
many
many
people
people?
will attend the conference, but I'll have a better idea soon.
Mhm.
How many millionaires do you estimate there are in this country? I estimate there are about 100 millionaires
In,
in this country.
mm,
Absent. What are the most common reasons that the employees give for being absent from work? The most common reasons that employees give for being absent from work are having a cold,
mhm,
um, having a transport problem,
mhm.
etc.
Very good.
Balance sheet, asset, liability.
Homer. Asset.
What do asset, okay,
Mhm.
asset. What do we mean by a balance sheet? By a balance sheet, we mean a document that lists the assets
The
and the
assets.
liability. Sorry, there is the assets and the liabilities of a company, and therefore shows us how much the company is worth. Who would you expect a balance sheet for a business to be prepared by? I'd expect a balance sheet for a business to be prepared by an accountant. Per annum, K. Grant. How much do you reckon the average full time worker earns in this country? I reckon the average full time worker earns in this country
About
about About 3 million yen
per annum.
per annum.